Exposed. The haunted truth of Oregon's 9/11 dispatch. 12 sinister calls revealed. On a chilling late winter night in Maplewood, fear clawed at the edges of quiet lives. Sarah, a single mother and seasoned 911 dispatcher, was no stranger to nightmares. But tonight, the darkness held something else, a sinister, creeping horror that lurked just outside the walls of her reality. As the clock struck midnight, her computer screen flickered ominously. Then the call came in. "There's someone outside my window." A boy's voice quaked through the speaker, his terror palpable even over the static-filled line. Panic prickled down Sarah's spine as she instinctively tightened her grip on the receiver. The familiar hum of the dispatch room turned into a haunting echo. She struggled to stay calm, hoping her voice might quell the boy's fear. "What do you see? Can you tell me where you are?" But the line suddenly went dead, cutting through the night like a knife. A chill settled over her as Sarah recalled previous calls from that same neighborhood. Each was a piece of a dark puzzle. Abusive parents, shadows skirting too close to windows, muffled cries punctuating the quiet nights. The jarring memories surfaced, tying together in an oppressive knot of dread. What had happened that night so long ago haunted every breath she took, each echo of a child's cries cutting deeper into her soul. The unsettling feeling that had been simmering in the air took a sudden turn. She hesitated, concern for her son, Elliot, nagging at her, but duty flickered stronger. She slipped on her coat, knowing she had to find that boy. Stepping outside, the fog rolled in thick and heavy, wrapping around her like a suffocating shroud. Each step echoed a warning. The world felt off-kilter, yet she pressed forward, compelled by both fear and determination. Her heart raced as she passed the skeletal remains of abandoned houses. Flickering lights danced in their windows, a warped invitation into a deeper darkness. Something shifted in the shadows. Was it merely a trick of the night? Or was someone watching? She shook off the panic creeping in, biting back the rising tide of anxiety with sheer will. Suddenly, her phone buzzed violently. A text message from an unknown number sent icy fingers of dread racing down her spine. "You need to stop asking questions." Fear coursed through her veins, but each pulse of panic transformed into resolve. Children were depending on her. She had to reach them. The night felt thicker now, stifling her breath as she navigated towards the source of the call, the darkness seemingly alive around her. Just when she thought she could catch a break, all the lights around her flickered out, plunging her into an oppressive void. "Help me!" A voice cried out from the pitch-black air, irrefutably familiar. It struck her heart like a blade of ice. Who was that child? Was it real? The darkness pressed around her and threatened to swallow her whole. As she stepped forward, a shadow flitted past out of the corner of her eye, a twisted silhouette slipping behind a derelict house. She froze, terror gripping her like a vice. "Elliot!" A desperate whisper slipped from her lips. Too late, a tangible reminder of what was at stake. The town of Maplewood didn't just harbor secrets. It harbored terror, a lurking menace ready to drag her into its endless night. And tonight, she wasn't just a dispatcher. She was face to face with the horrors that had been unspoken, waiting for someone to expose the darkness in the shadows. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. With a pounding heart and trembling hands, Sarah bolted towards the sound, every instinct shrieking for her to turn back. But she couldn't. Not when the cries echoed the darkness of her own past. Maplewood was more than just a town. It was a haunting ground where shadows danced and secrets hid in plain sight. Her breath caught at the thought, could she unveil the truth before it swallowed her whole? What unspeakable horrors awaited in the fog? As Sarah sprinted toward the source of the cries, the thick fog closed in, suffocating the air around her. Each step felt like a battle against an unseen force, as if the very ground was conspiring to drag her down. In that murky darkness, desperation clawed at her throat, mingling with the taste of cold dread. "Help me!" The voice called again, a shrill break that shattered her resolve. It was close, closer than she realized. Her heart thundered as she scanned the shadowy landscape, squinting against the mist that twisted around her like ghostly fingers. "Elliot!" she shouted, her voice trembling, but the fog swallowed her words. It felt wrong, the absence of any response from her son. Could he be in danger too? Shaking her head, she forced herself to focus. There was a child in peril, and something dark lurking beneath the surface of these seemingly tranquil streets. Suddenly, another flicker of movement caught her eye near an old swing set, rusted and forgotten. She hesitated, her limbs heavy with dread, but hearing the faintest of whimpers pushed her feet forward. The swings creaked, swaying as if touched by an unseen hand. The sight sent a shiver down her spine. "Hello? Is someone there?" She called again, her voice a raw whisper that felt swallowed whole by the clinging fog. No answer, just the oppressive silence and the soft crunch of leaves beneath her hurried steps. As she reached the swings, an icy breath slithered down her back. The chill didn't just come from the cold air. It echoed with the whispers of lost children, haunting the night, and then the unmistakable laughter of children echoed around her. But this laughter was wrong. It crackled with malice. Her stomach turned as she turned sharply, searching desperately for the source. But the shadows only danced mockingly, revealing nothing. With her heart in her throat, Sarah felt her phone buzz again. She fumbled for it, her hands trembling as she read the new message on the screen. "You shouldn't have come here. They're waiting for you." "Who?" she mouthed, heart hammering. "Who's waiting?" Panic surged within her, but she pressed on, compelled by her maternal instinct and the desperation of another frightened child. Then she heard it, a deep, guttural growl rising from the darkness. It rippled through the ground, vibrating up to her bones. Fear froze her in place. The shadowy figure she had seen melted into view. It was there, lurking beneath the dim light of the street lamp, watching her. "Get away from my son." A voice rumbled, and a figure stepped forward from the fog. A woman with wild eyes and tangled hair. But before Sarah could react, the woman lunged into the shadows, vanishing just as swiftly. In that fleeting moment, Sarah felt a surge of anger mixed with confusion. "Who are you? What do you want?" she cried into the darkness, but no answer came. The air crackled, and that monstrous growling returned, closer this time, sharp teeth glinting through the mist. Panic ignited. She backed away slowly, the dread rising like bile in her throat. But the pull toward the unknown felt more powerful than her fear. Elliot's laughter bubbled to the surface again, beckoning her into the darkness. "Mommy!" The voice was a taunt now, a cruel echo of innocence. Her breathing quickened, mind racing. Should she run, fight, or face the shadows creeping in? She glanced back the way she came. Too much fog, too many unknowns. But to turn now felt like a betrayal. What was waiting for her just beyond the veil of fog? The tension peaked, and as she took a step forward, the ground beneath trembled, and the shadows began to swirl around her. A whisper grazed her ear, chilling her to the bone. "You can't hide." The dark was no longer just a location. It was an entity hungry for her fear. Sarah needed to find Elliot, but what if she had already come too close to embracing the darkness of Maplewood? When she stepped into the fog, she felt its grasp pull tighter around her as the chilling realization crept in. The true horror was just beginning, and she was about to uncover its heart. But would she emerge unscathed, or would she become one of the secrets Maplewood was desperate to keep? Her mind raced, a chaotic storm of thoughts battling for dominance as the shadows writhed around her. Each flicker of movement sent her heart into a panicked flutter. Had Elliot made it this far? Did he hear her calling? The laughter echoing in the mist felt like a cruel game, one she was losing. "Mommy!" The voice came again, taunting, laced with something sinister. Sarah had to push through. There was no alternative. She could feel the weight of unseen eyes on her. a terrible weight that pressed closer, threatening to crush her will. With every step forward, the fog thickened, transforming her surroundings into a grotesque landscape. The swing set, once a sanctuary of childhood laughter, felt like a graveyard. The chains hung limply, rusting in their own despair. She had to find him. Her son's fate hung in the balance, and the swirling shadows craved her fear. The growl returned, louder, promise of pain echoing in its resonance. She whipped around, searching for the source. Would she confront whatever horror awaited her, or flee into the inky blackness? Just when she thought to turn back, something glinted in the shadows. A reflection? A glimmer of hope? No, she whispered, disbelief paralyzing her. The shine was just beyond view, obscured by the shifting haze. It beckoned, a sliver of silver brushing against her desperation. She edged closer, but hesitation rooted her in place. The air thickened, stifling her breath. And then, out of nowhere, a sibilant voice slithered through the fog, whispering close to her ear. "You're too late." The words snaked through her mind, carrying an icy dread. Precipice of truth. Did she dare confront it? Racked with fear, Sarah clutched her phone tight, hoping to draw upon its light and use it to pierce the enveloping night. With a trembling breath, she switched on the flashlight, its beam cutting through the oppressive fog. For a brief moment, the glow painted an eerie tableau of twisted trees and decrepit playground equipment. Yet, the shadows seemed to shift, elongate, twisting around the edges of the light as if resisting her weapon against the darkness. "Elliot!" she cried again, a crack of despair punctuating the silence. But the response was not what she feared the most. It was the stillness that gripped her, the knowledge that something was watching, waiting. Then it happened. A rush of realization flooded her in an instant. Elliot's laughter, echoing through the dread, was not the child's laughter she had always cherished. It had turned, morphed into something sinister, a haunting melody twisting her heart. Before she could process the terror, she felt it, a presence beside her. Cold and unyielding. Heat crept into her cheeks as the perspiration dripped from her brow. She swung the flashlight frantically, hunting for whatever was there. For whatever spirit had claimed the dark. Through the blue-hued light, a figure emerged. A small shadow, gnarled and twisted, with eyes that glowed like lanterns amidst the darkness. "Mommy, help me," it rasped, voice so familiar yet so warped. Her breath left her. She staggered back, feeling reality unravel. Was this even Elliot? Or was this one of the horrors Maplewood concealed? "What do you want?" she cried out, her heart thundering in her chest. "It's fun." The figure giggled darkly, and Sarah's stomach churned, realizing that this was no innocent child she sought. But where was the real Elliot? As the figure lunged at her with impossible speed, the revelation crashed down. Maplewood was alive, feeding off those who strayed too far into its depths. Fear seeped into Sarah's bones, and she sprinted away, heart pounding, unsure where to run. But the fog shifted, the cries grew louder, and just as she thought, the laughter receded. Another voice, a deeper one, rich and malevolent, echoed through the mist, filling her with paralyzing dread. "You shouldn't have come here." What was their endgame? What darkness had she awakened? With that question echoing in her mind, she dashed through the fog, yearning for escape, yet finding herself sucked deeper into the nightmare. And that laughter? It would not let her go. The ground felt unstable beneath Sarah's feet as she ran, shadows whispering temptations all around her. Her breaths came sharp and shallow, panic clawing at her throat. Each echoing laugh, each taunting reminder of her son, was a relentless reminder that time was slipping away. "Elliot, I'm coming," she screamed, though her voice trembled on the edge of despair. Would he even hear her? Did he know she was still searching? The thought clawed at her, and the darkness thickened, wrapping like a serpent around her. The claustrophobic fog twisted in a sinister ballet, and she stumbled, her foot catching on something, a rotting log, sending her sprawling. Pain shot through her knee, but she ignored it, pushing herself back to her feet. As she steadied her breath, she caught another glimpse of movement, the shadow darting just beyond the reach of her flashlight. It was toying with her, leading her deeper into Maplewood's embrace with renewed urgency. She forged ahead, ignoring the way the trees groaned in protest, branches reaching like skeletal hands trying to grasp her. "I will find you," she yelled, though doubt filled her heart, heavy as the fog. Ahead, she spotted a faint glow piercing through the gloom. Another glimmer, or a trap? She had no choice but to investigate. Churning dread chased her as she approached the light. Was this a sign of hope or a trick set by the darkness? As she drew closer, the light pulsed rhythmically, a heartbeat synchronized with her own racing pulse. It illuminated a clearing where tattered remnants of innocence lay scattered. Broken toys, rusted tricycles, remnants of laughter now shrouded in the unsettling silence. Then she heard it. A distant cry, not just any cry, but her son's voice, echoing through the chaos. "Mommy!" The sound twisted her gut like a vice. Frantic, she dashed forward, the clearing stretching out, as time itself warped. Shadows lurked at the periphery, whispering tales of despair. "Elliot!" she cried, her voice hoarse, choking back the very definition of terror. But as she stepped into the center of the glow, she froze. The light revealed a figure crouched low, swaying as if caught in a trance. "Mommy," it whispered, voice like ice scraping against her skin. But this was not Elliot. The child was gaunt, with eyes sunken and wild, and a manic grin stretching across its face, revealing teeth too sharp and too white. "You shouldn't have come here," it hissed, each word laced with malice, echoing the deeper voice she had heard earlier. Fear surged within her, an electric panic. She stumbled back, raising the flashlight as though it could ward off the nightmare. But the child lunged, faster than a heartbeat, reaching for her with those sharp fingers. In that instant, the flashlight flickered, threatening to plunge her back into darkness. "No!" she cried, scrambling to escape. The laughter returned, mingling with her son's voice, layered with something sinister. The shadows pressed in closer, squeezing around her like a vice. She dashed backward, the line between the real and the unreal blurring as the shadows clawed deeper into her sanity. "I must find Elliot," she shouted to the empty air. But where was he? Where could he possibly be hidden in this maze of evil? And suddenly, she felt that something cold and wet grabbed her ankle. She fell, losing the flashlight as it skittered away into the dark. The world collapsed around her. The laughter peaked, drowning her cries. "Mommy, you're too late." A chill washed over her. Panic bubbled inside her chest, an overwhelming weight. The forest was alive, and she was its prey. Sarah scrambled up, heart racing wildly. She had to run. However, every direction felt like a trap set with snarled vines of shadows closing in, voices melding into a cacophony of terror. In that moment, she realized, Maplewood knew her every fear, thrived upon them. Where was the real Elliot? Did she still have time to save him before the dark crushed her spirit? With that single thought racing through her mind, she took off into the fog again, determined, even as the laughter trailed. Behind her like a relentless phantom, what awaited her on the other side of the darkness? The forest closed in around her, a suffocating embrace that threatened to swallow her whole. Sarah pressed on, her heart pounding against her ribs like a trapped bird. The laughter, that insidious laughter, echoed in the back of her mind, each echo taunting her, each whispered word pulling her deeper into the nightmare. "Elliot," she called again, but her voice was swallowed by the thick darkness, a prayer falling on deaf ears. Was he out there? Was he still waiting for her? Or had the shadows claimed him as their own? Each step felt like a betrayal, every inch forward riddled with doubt. She stumbled through the tangled underbrush, branches clawing at her skin, tearing her clothes with menacing precision. Her focus narrowed to the ground, searching for any sign of movement, any sign that she was still on the right path. Suddenly, a distant rustling caught her attention. Her breath hitched, sharp as a knife. She spun around, eyes wide, heart thrumming louder than the laughter surrounding her. It was just a trick of the wind, wasn't it? Then, another sound broke through the fog. A faint whimper. "Mommy?" The voice was small and frightened, just like Elliot's. Hope flared within her like an ember caught in dry leaves. "Elliot!" She screamed again, urgency outweighing her fear. With renewed vigor, she plunged toward the sound, adrenaline pushing her through the pain in her knee. But as she advanced, the laughter morphed into sinister giggles, swirling around her, filling the air with dread. "You're too late, can't find him, lost forever, no," Sarah shouted back, feet pounding against the earth. She refused to accept it, refused to let the shadows win. Emerging from the dense trees, she stumbled into another clearing, but this one felt wrong. It was too quiet. The air was thick with an oppressive silence, the kind that smothered her thoughts and choked her breath. Elliot's cry echoed once more, but now it twisted, warping into a ghastly cacophony of voices, mournful, pleading, and mocking all at once. "Help me!" it cried, the last echoes of laughter lingering behind. "Mommy, help me!" But her hope was snuffed out as she saw what lay before her. A circle of rotting dolls and shattered glass, reflection shards catching glimpses of her frantic face. In the center, an old rusted swing creaked eerily, swaying back and forth as if someone had just left it. "Elliot!" She threw herself into the gathering, searching desperately, eyes darting among the abandoned toys. But the cries were growing fainter, lost within the noise of the forest. The swing creaked again, the sound pulling her back. As she moved closer, she felt a chilling breeze wrap around her, whispering secrets in a language she couldn't understand. The swing slowed, then stopped, facing her squarely. Without thinking, she stepped closer, drawn like a moth to the flame. "Elliot?" Her voice cracked, trembling under the strain of dread. And just then, out of the shadows, a figure appeared, a small form, small enough to be her son. "Mommy!" called, voice sweet, innocent. He was there, just beyond reach. "Elliot!" She lunged forward, but as she did, the figure dissolved into mist. Laughter erupted once again, echoing through the trees. "No, no, no!" Panic seized her, raw and wild. She turned, ready to flee, but the shadows encircled her. The forest squeezed tighter, a vice made of darkness. Every path twisted back on itself, leading into an impossibility. What was this place? What was it doing to her? Something slithered around her ankles. Tendrils of darkness ensnared her, pulling her down. She fought against them, grasping for freedom, her mind racing between desperation and despair. If Elliot was out there, she would find him. She had to before the forest consumed her entire being. Just as she thought she would break free, a familiar voice echoed through the trees, drenching her with chills. "Mommy, why didn't you save me?" It was Elliot. But as she turned, the shadows morphed and twisted. His image flickered like a faulty light, collapsing into an amalgam of lost children, eyes wide with horror. She fell to her knees as waves of agony washed over her, foes of time unraveling the thread of hope. "Mommy, where are you?" Then darkness surged, and she plunged deeper still, longing for the warmth that might never return. And in the depth of her anguish, a figure emerged from the darkness, looming large, cloaked in whispers and shadows. Presence known only in nightmares. "Stay with me, Sarah," it intoned, voice smothered in tempests. "You belong here." Terror washed over her like ice. What would she sacrifice to escape this nightmare? And would she even get the chance to find out? The world around Sarah flickered, shadows dancing with an eerie life. As the looming figure beckoned her, she fought to comprehend its form, shifting and bending in ways that felt wrong. It exuded an energy that made her skin crawl, like 1,000 icy fingers tracing along her spine. Panic surged again, a raging river inside her chest. "Get away from me," she gasped, her voice breaking as she tried to scramble back. Each desperate attempt to flee felt futile as her legs felt heavy, weighed down by the grip of darkness enveloping her. Footsteps echoed in the distance. They were slow, deliberate, every thud a reminder of her isolation. She strained to listen, each sound amplified in her throbbing head. "Elliot!" She shouted again, but her voice was swallowed, lost in the void. Just as hope seemed buried, a flash of light pierced the thick gloom, a sliver of moonlight breaking through the canopy. It bathed her in a pale glow, illuminating the ground at her feet. In that fleeting moment, she saw it, a path formed, barely discernible, lined with the remnants of broken toys. A small figure crouched at the end, its back turned toward her. Heart pounding, she focused on it, feeling a bolt of recognition. "Elliot!" She took a step forward, but the shadows twisted more aggressively, snarling like hungry wolves. "Please!" The figure before her turned slowly, revealing a face that was not entirely her son's. Hollow eyes stared back at her, devoid of warmth. A wry smile curled upon its lips, one that sent chills racing down her arms. "Mommy," it said, voice dripping with malice, "do you want to play with us?" The laughter swelled, a cacophony rising into a wild screech, swirling around her with ungodly rage. The dolls surrounding her seemed to come to life, their cracked porcelain faces cracking into twisted grins. It wasn't just her son's absence that terrified her. It was the feeling of being overwhelmed, swallowed by something ancient and cruel. The presence behind her, still looming, whispered close, its breath a cold wind. "You belong to me now," with a ferocity born out of sheer will. Sarah turned back to the twisted path. She dashed toward it, forcefully breaking through the festering darkness, each step propelling her deeper into a maze of despair. Thorny branches reached for her, scratching hastily against her skin, threatening to drag her back. The path wove and wound, unending, as murmurings rose around her. Shades of children whispered her name, each sound twisting the knife of regret deeper into her heart. "You didn't save us, you let us go." Sarah's heart clenched tighter with each step. "No!" she screamed, though the darkness warped her voice. She refused to believe any of this. She could not allow herself to succumb. The trees grew denser, branches closing in like a trap. A sudden realization struck her like a lightning bolt through her foggy mind. What if Elliot wasn't alone? What if there were others? If he were caught in this nightmare too? She couldn't leave him behind. "Elliot!" she cried again, venturing into the darkness. "I'm coming. I won't leave you." But with every echo of her voice, the laughter reignited around her, more menacing and resolved. She felt a chill creep into her bones as the shadows closed in closer. Then a warm hand gripped her shoulder. Whirling around, Sarah was met face to face with the figure cloaked in shadows. It smiled, revealing teeth too sharp, too predatory. "Why do you still resist?" it hissed. "What will you sacrifice for your precious boy?" Time froze. The air thickened, electric with malice. The figure leaned closer, its voice now a soft hiss. "Make a choice, Sarah. What do you truly value?" Suddenly, the ground beneath her trembled, echoing the urgency of her heart. The darkness stirred restlessly, waiting for her answer. Could she make the ultimate sacrifice? And what if doing so meant losing everything else? Would she risk it all? The question hung in the air, beckoning her to decide. The ground pulsed like a living thing, and Sarah's breath hitched as she locked eyes with the looming figure. Its smile widened, a predatory grin that etched itself into her memory, haunting and mocking. Panic surged through her veins, igniting a neon flare of desperation. "What do you want from me?" she shot back, voice barely above a whisper, trembling as it squeezed her shoulder. The figure let out a laugh that cut through the air like glass shattering. "Do you think this is about me? It's about you, Sarah. About your choices. Show me what you value." Each word twisted in her gut, dark and sharp, and the images of her son flashed before her, radiant and full of life. But there was something else in those memories, a weight of guilt pressing down. She had failed him then. What if she had failed him again? The laughter intensified, swirling, encircling her. "Choose between the boy or your own happiness, Sarah. Choose before the darkness chooses for you." The shadows writhed, tightening their grip as if expecting her decision. The air grew thick and suffocating. Every breath felt like a struggle as she processed the chilling ultimatum. Her mind raced, a frantic carousel of thoughts. I just want Elliot. I would do anything. Anything? The figure whispered, its voice slithering around her like smoke. Suddenly, images cascaded like a waterfall, echoes of her life unraveling in an instant. Marriages, friendships, moments lost amid the shadowy backdrop of her despair. Then be prepared to face the consequences. Darkness surged, tendrils wrapping around her ankles, tugging her deeper, closer to the figure. In that moment, the prospect of giving in was terrifying, yet tempting. The idea of relief beckoned her, the thought of casting aside her burdens and finally feeling free. But at what cost? Elliot, she cried, seeking his tiny face in the clouds of her troubled mind. With each heartbeat, her resolve grew stronger. I want to choose you over him. The figure's eyes glimmered, a mixture of surprise and rage. You can't save them all. You can't save anyone. With newfound fury, Sarah wrestled free from the icy grasp of despair and leaned into her fears. I want to let you take him. Suddenly, shadows leaped forward, clawing at her with jagged fingers, pulling her back along the dark path. She fought against the onslaught, the air filling with frigid whispers, but somewhere in that gloom, a spark ignited within her. A paltry, flickering light battled against the heavy darkness. Barely able to stand, she hurled herself forward, desperate to find the glowing ember at the end of the path, her light, her sun. But as she surged ahead, the world shifted. The path twisted and distorted, stretching what felt like miles into a deep, treacherous void filled with the echoes of children lost, forgotten. Don't you see? The figure's voice hissed, curling through the air like frost on a winter's morning. They will always come for you. Sarah's legs burned as she pushed forward, her heart a thunderstorm in her chest, each beat reminding her that losing was not an option. An overwhelming wave of fear threatened to drown her, but as she turned to face the advancing shadows, she stumbled upon a truth that clawed at her mind. Where are you, Elliot? With fierce determination, she called out into the darkness again. I will find you. I want to give up. But the shadows thickened and closed in, a hungry beast ready to pounce. Just as she thought she could glimpse the light through the murky veil, it flickered and vanished, leaving her in total darkness. Your choice has been made. The figure hissed, laughter echoing ominously in the void. The ground trembled again beneath her feet, earthquakes of shadows threatening to swallow her whole. Rattled and terrified, Sarah stood alone, waiting for the inevitable strike. What would happen next? Would she lose everything she fought for? Or could she somehow turn the tide? Elliot, she screamed, clinging to her hope amidst the thickening shadows. But something exploded from the dark, plunging into her shattered resolve. The chaos surged, and just before the darkness enveloped her, she heard a voice, a small, distinct cry piercing the malevolence. Mommy! The shadows recoiled like an animal wounded, but Sarah barely had time to register the voice before everything spiraled into oblivion. A choice lingered, unmade and electrifying, and a new terror gripped her. Who else was lost? And would she truly be able to save them all? The abyss waited, and with it, secrets that were ready to be unearthed. What lay ahead? Sarah gasped as the cold darkness swirled, swallowing the last remnants of her surroundings. The moment stretched, suffocating, and her heart raced in a chaotic rhythm. The cry echoed again, her son's voice, desperate and real. The shadows shifted, swirling fiercely around her like a storm about to unleash its fury. Elliot, she cried out, flailing in the dark trying to find him, praying the chaos hadn't taken him too. Suddenly, the shadows stopped their furious dance. The air thickened, turning heavy, vibrating with an energy that felt both electric and alive. In the stillness, a single beam of moonlight pierced through, illuminating a small figure on the ground, a child crouching with tear-streaked cheeks. Mommy! Elliot reached out, his hands stretching toward her, and she stumbled forward, desperation fueling her every movement. But the path to him twisted and turned like a path in a haunted woods. Dark tendrils snaked around her feet, yanking her back, intent on pulling her once more into the abyss. No, not again. She tore her eyes away from Elliot, focusing on the figure looming in the shadows, eyes burning with a malignant glee. "You can't save him," the figure whispered, its voice a venomous hiss that sent shivers down her spine. "You made your choice, I didn't mean to. I bow to you." Sarah's voice rang out, defiant, masking her terror. She focused on the light of her son, the innocence that remained untouched by this darkness. Telling herself that love could win, she fought against the shadows, imagining them as mere wisps of smoke, illusionary and fragile. With renewed determination, she charged through, bracing against the weight of despair pressing down on her. "Elliot, I'm coming. Hold on." Her heart raced as she closed what felt like an eternity into a chasm, the cries of lost children murmuring around her. Teetering on the edge of hope and fear, she inched forward. The figure laughed, low and eerie. "You think love can shield you? The darkness is patient, and it always collects its due." The shadows thickened, menacing shapes clawing at her, all the failures, all the lost moments swirling towards her. Just when she thought the darkness would swallow her whole, something snapped in her. She felt an eruption, a fragile light illuminating her spirit, and with it came a fierce roar of defiance. "Not today," she shouted, pushing against the tide of shadow with her spirit's brightness, her love for Elliot pouring like flame into her words. Suddenly, the darkness screamed, a horrible cacophony as her light pierced through, forcing the shadows to retreat, hissing as if burned. The ground shook violently, the very fabric of the void seeming to ripple as if struggling against her will. But beneath this fleeting victory, something shifted. A ripple of darkness pulsed ominously beneath her feet. The figure's grin morphed into a furious snarl, and then, with a howl, the shadows exploded outward, revealing not just the figure, but other souls trapped within, eyes wide with agony, whispering her name. "Sarah, help us!" A chill shot through her as though ice water had found its way into her veins. The faces flickered through the shadows. Friends she hadn't seen in years, lost ones who echoed her guilt. It was a living nightmare, their pleas wrapping around her heart, dragging her down. Who are you?" The figure loomed closer, casting an ever-expanding shadow. "You think your love can save only one? This isn't just about Elliot, my dear. You have a choice to make." Her eyes darted, mentally calculating the weight of each soul haunting her. Sarah's heart ached. Could she bear the weight of their lives alongside her son's? In the swirling chaos, Sarah felt the pull of desperation, of anguish that clawed at her mind with tempting whispers of salvation, begging for release from this eternal pain. "Choose," the figure rumbled. A new horror twisted in her gut as she realized the stakes. The abyss below pulsed like a hungry beast, waiting for her answer. Could she save them all? Or would her heart shatter under the weight of this impossible choice? As shadows closed in, Sarah braced for the inevitable, determined to defy the darkness. But she knew one thing: the real terror was only beginning. Who would she sacrifice to save the ones she loved? And what haunted truth lay beneath the surface waiting to be exposed? The ground shook again, violent and unsteady beneath her feet. Black tendrils clawed at Sarah, latching onto her like living creatures wanting to drag her away. She fought against them, breathless, while deep inside, a thick knot of dread tightened. "Choose," the figure echoed, its shadowy grin sharp as a knife, twisting the atmosphere with its insidious glee. Sarah's mind raced. Her heart pounded like a drum in her chest. "All of them? How could I choose, or they all go?" it hissed, eyes piercing into her soul. Above her son, Elliot stood tormented in the moonlight, a beacon of innocence amidst a fog of despair. But the faces of the lost hovered at the edges, begging, pleading. Their eyes shimmered with horror, their breathless voices merging into a sing-song chant that sent chills down her spine. "Help us, save us, stop," she screamed, voice cracking, as waves of guilt crashed over her. I can't. A shadowed face flickered in her peripheral vision, a friend from her past. "Sarah, you have to try for us." The memory was too much. She failed them once. "I should have done better. I should have saved you just like now," the figure taunted, its voice echoing through the abyss, mingling with the voices of the lost souls. Sarah stumbled, every failure she'd ever buried clawing its way to the surface, dragging at her heart. The shadows writhed and twisted, forming grotesque shapes of those she loved and lost. Do you really think love is enough? The figure sneered, its voice low and taunting. You can't run from what you owe. Suddenly, the darkness surged around her again, snatching at her from all sides. Sarah couldn't breathe. They were suffocating her with their wrath, their sorrow. I will save him, she shouted defiantly, extending her arms towards Elliot, adrenaline surging through her, fueling her fight against the suffocating horror. But with each word, the shadows thickened, wrapping tighter around her, creating a web that choked and constricted. Not for long, mother. Elliot cried out her name, his small hands still reaching toward her. Mommy, please. Despair coursed through Sarah like a venomous snake, squeezing the air from her lungs. Elliot, hold on. I'm coming. But the darkness was relentless, pressing against her, pulling her into the agonizing depths. It whispered sweet, poisoned words, promising peace if she would let go. Choose, the abyss called to her, and panic swelled in her chest like a balloon ready to burst. From the corners of her mind, old memories stirred, shadows of her past failures mixing with the cacophony of lost souls. Her fingers trembled, life flickering like matches about to burn out. Choice means sacrifice, the figure taunted, face shifting to something darker, more monstrous. A price must be paid, and it is you who must decide what that cost will be. Each soul around her moaned, the weight of their suffering like a chain dragging her down deeper. She felt the ice spread through her veins again. Behind the figure's relentless smile lay a truth so chilling it threatened to consume her whole. I can't lose him, she shouted, grasping for clarity, trying to block out the insistent murmurs. Yet the shadows only thickened, wrapping her tighter, demanding her concessions. Sarah closed her eyes against the overwhelming terror, forcing herself to think through the fog. What would she change? Who would it be? Each life around her felt like a thread weaving into her own, suffocating and beautiful. As the cries swirled in a chorus around her head, in that heavy darkness, a thought glimmered through the veil of despair. But I can't save you all, not if it means losing him. Time is running out. Sarah, the figure sneered, its laughter sharp like glass. And with that realization, the darkness roared, filling her with dread. In the depths below, something stirred, a dreadful promise of what was yet to come. She felt the shadows shift, a gaping maw that threatened to engulf everything she held dear. Make the choice or be destined to live this nightmare forever. A wave of terror surged through her. Just as she felt the last shreds of resolve slip away, a thought struck her. Maybe, just maybe, I can find another way. But how could she hope to defy the abyss without losing everything? The shadows twisted around her, urgency clawing at her heart. What will you choose? It taunted. In that blinding moment of fear, clarity flickered like a dying candle flame. There's always a way, but was there? As the darkness surged, Sarah took a deep breath, prepared to dive into the depths of terror, looking for a glimmer of salvation in the chaos. But she knew one thing. She had to unearth the truth hidden beneath all this pain, or the shadows would consume them all. The question remained, could she face what lay beneath? What horrors awaited her revelation? In that deafening silence, Sarah felt a surge of defiance rise within her. The shadows clamored, their ominous whispers filled with threats and despair. She wasn't just fighting for Elliot anymore. She was fighting for the very essence of hope that flickered in her heart. No, she screamed, her voice ringing out defiantly against the encroaching darkness. I won't let fear dictate my choices. As if resonating with her fierce determination, the shadows around her momentarily hesitated. In that charged pause, Sarah was struck by a realization. The darkness thrived on despair, on the belief that it alone held the power to dictate the course of lives. But what if she could shift the tide? What if she could turn that fear into something stronger? Elliot, she called out again, her voice unwavering, bursting through the swirling fog like a beacon. I am coming for you. Just hold on. The words ignited a spark, a warmth that radiated through her body. She clenched her fists, drawing upon every ounce of maternal love she felt, every precious moment shared with her son. She could feel the light inside her battling the consuming darkness. Memories flooded back his laughter, the time they built a treehouse together, even the way his little hands used to wrap around her finger when he was scared. Those moments became her armor as she envisioned Elliot. The darkness around her quivered like a futile tempest against the looming light. I am not just a mother. I am his protector. The ground beneath her surged, the shadows recoiling instinctively. The figure in the darkness twisted, its cruel smile faltering slightly. You think that sentiment can save you? Or him? It jeered, but there was a hesitation in its voice now. Not just him, but all of you, Sarah shouted, releasing the pain that had haunted her. I want to choose one life over another. I will fight for them all. Amidst the shivering shadows, a soft glow began to emanate from her heart, pulsating like a lighthouse guiding lost ships to shore. Every time she thought of Elliot and the souls around her, the light grew brighter. Your bravado is meaningless in the face of the void. The figure screamed, but there was fear now in its tone. No, it's you who are afraid. She shot back, fueled by the realization that love and determination could transcend any darkness. With one last cry, Sarah surged forward, pushing against the shadows encircling her, using her love as a palpable force. Elliot, I am coming. The fog parted as she charged forward, illuminating the chilling scene before her. There, surrounded by lost souls, she saw him, her precious son, standing alone in a pale moonlit space, fear evident in his bright eyes. Mommy! He reached for her, and in that moment, something shifted in the air. The darkness around them shrieked in protest, attempting to claw back its secrets. No! Sarah shouted. She plunged forward, unfazed by the swirling shadows that tried to drag her down. She reached Elliot and grabbed his small, trembling hands. We're leaving this place. Together. As she held tightly to him, the warmth of their bond spread outward. The light from her heart pulsed stronger, illuminating the darkness around them, bending and breaking the shadows that had once seemed insurmountable. Come with us, she cried to the lost souls lingering around. The whispers of their despair transformed to cries for hope, and one by one, they reached out, intertwining their hands with Sarah and Elliot, merging their collective spirit. There is power in unity, Sarah realized, pulling each soul toward the light. Together we can break free. And with that proclamation, the warmth surged through them all, their shared hope erupting like a wildfire that consumed the fear. The darkness faltered, howled in agony, and began to disintegrate into mere wisps of shadow. The ground shook violently, and for a brief moment, Sarah felt the abyss teetering on the brink of collapse. We will not let you take us, she shouted, her voice slicing through the chaos. I am not afraid. Elliot's small voice joined hers, filling the air with innocence. The combined strength of their will pierced through the shadows, rippling outward a shockwave of courage. The figure's grimace darkened, its voice slipping into a maddening howl as it was consumed by the light. You can't escape. You don't know what you're giving up. But Sarah pressed onward, feeling the shadows recede. She tightened her grip on Elliot. We know exactly what we are choosing. The light of love over the grip of fear. With one collective push, the light exploded outward, shattering the darkness that had held them captive. The last echoes of the figure's rage faded into nothingness as sunlight broke through the horizon, illuminating Maplewood in a warm glow. Standing together, Sarah held Elliot tightly in her arms, tears streaming down her cheeks, filled with relief and love. We made it. Around them, the lost souls dissolved into the light, their grateful whispers blessing Sarah for facing her fears. In that moment, their burdens lifted. She felt a sense of peace. But above all, she realized she had changed. She wasn't just a mother. She was a protector and a warrior. Together, they walked back toward their home, fully alive and ready to embrace each new day. Their journey in Maplewood nothing but a haunting memory of what could have been a testament to the power of love overcoming darkness. And now a new light awaited, shining brightly with hope, promise, and the chance to rebuild. They were back, and this time, nothing could shake their bond. If you enjoyed this gripping conclusion and want to dive into more exclusive stories like this, you need to subscribe now. Smash that like button to feed the algorithm and keep us going. We want to hear your reactions and theories about this ending, so flood the comments. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with friends who could use a thrill. The time to support our channel is now.